Look at that. Hot Mess Express over
We're
here.
live on YouTube and Facebook as well. What's up, Munchkin Butt?
All right. I just got done working out, so I look a wreck.
She looks a wreck. All right, so how's everybody doing today? I got a client call at 5:30, so I got a boogie a little bit early today because I got to get ready for that client call. But we're going to have a quick little discussion, Q&A session. We're going to start off today's topic with a topic on nicotine. So this is a nicotine pouch. All right, little backstory here. Actually, quick little disclaimer to start with. I am in no way, form, or fashion recommending or encouraging people to use nicotine as a supplement with this little message. And I am in no way at all recommending people use smoking, vaping, dipping, or snuffing as a delivery vehicle for said nicotine. Those are literally the worst things you could do for yourself. There are some benefits to nicotine, but those benefits are far overshadowed by the negative side effects of smoking, dipping, vaping, or snuffing. So don't do those. There is no tobacco in this. This is just pure nicotine. So let's talk about nicotine in isolation, not delivered via tobacco. Can you hold it now? Let me talk here. So nicotine, there are I'm probably going to say it wrong, but like nicotinic receptors or something like that. Similar to how there's caffeine receptors in the body. Nicotine, it's different biomechanism, but nicotine, there are natural receptors in the body that receive nicotine and respond accordingly. So nicotine in isolation can be an appetite suppressant, not a significant appetite suppressant, but an appetite suppressant nonetheless. It can cause a sense of increased focus and acute energy, but it's not really all that great for muscular performance. So it's great from a cognitive standpoint. There's some pretty interesting studies coming out now about nicotine as a nootropic supplementation, actually. I've been using it for about 2 weeks now, I guess, 3 weeks maybe, for a few different reasons. One, like I said, for the appetite suppressant, I am deep into a competition prep right now, so having something to take my mind off of food is nice. I used to chew gum. I no longer chew gum. I used to be a chain chewer. I would go through 4 packs of gum a day. That is not good. There are calories in gum, though small, they do add up. When you're going through 4 packs of gum a day, it's a lot of sweetener. Just wasn't good. So I haven't chewed gum in like 3 or 4 years now. Gave up gum a long time ago. But this is nice because I will at most do 2 to 4 pouches of this a day. Ryan, you got something saying?
Yes, it sure does.
2 to 4 pouches a day of this. These are 3 milligrams per pouch. To give you some context, a single cigarette has between 8 and 12 milligrams of nicotine. So my total daily usage of nicotine via 2 to 4 Zen pouches is still less than what somebody's getting through a single cigarette of nicotine. Plus, I don't have the negative effects of tobacco with these nicotine pouches. All of the studies that link nicotine to cancer are done in studies that use tobacco as a delivery vehicle. Tobacco is the main culprit for cancer there. Nicotine in isolation, nicotine is an addictive substance. People can become addicted to nicotine due to the dopamine response you get from nicotine, which is why I'm only having 2 to 4 pouches a day at 3 milligram doses.
Actually, it's actually very similar to caffeine.
Yes. Just
so
as
caffeine is very addictive as well.
Yes, caffeine is like the world's most abused drug, if we want to talk about supplementation. There's a lot of supplements out there, y'all. There's a whole bunch of supplements out there. There's branched-chain amino acids, there's creatine, there's caffeine, there's all kinds of pre-workouts, taurine, rhodiola rosea. There's like so many supplements out there. A bunch of vitamins, minerals, all kinds of good stuff. All kinds of stuff that's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. It's not really going to cause any noticeable effect. There are very few supplements that I actually feel a tangible difference with. Caffeine is one. I don't feel a difference with creatine, but it has a very minuscule effect, and that compounded over time makes me, use creatine because I think it is beneficial. It's very cheap, it's cost effective, and there's more studies on creatine than any other supplement. So creatine's a safe bet. But I do actually feel a difference with the nicotine. I feel a little bit more focused, and again, it takes my mind off of food. So I'll have one of those after my OMAD meal to kind of satiate me a little bit, and I'll typically have them when I'm about to do quite a bit of pretty thought-provoking work. So if I'm doing a bunch of emails, doing my client work, doing some research, going through a research study, or working on a course or something like that, I'll have one. Yeah, I've been actually having one when I've recorded a podcast here lately, and I feel just more focused and and just like focused on the task at hand. Don't recommend them for a pre-workout though. There are effects in which it can kind of relax the body and improve cognition of the mind. So not great as a pre-workout or stimulus in that regard. I also don't recommend nicotine if you are less than 25 years old. There's been some studies that indicate that if your brain is still developing, consuming nicotine is probably not your best bet. I am not less than 25 years old. I'm 31. So I've been having 2 to 4 of these 3 milligram pouches a day, and that has been good for me during this stage in my prep. Probably something I will decrease or remove entirely as I bring calories back up and don't need to worry about suppressing appetite as much. But we will cross that bridge when we get there. That's a quick little take on nicotine. I talked about it in a newsletter, talked about it on a prep vlog, and had a bunch of questions about it. So I figured I'd kind of address some of those here on the Live at 5.
I feel like I may have had too many electrolytes, so I might need to use them.
You gotta go to the bathroom or something?
Well, like, I feel like I might throw up eventually.
That's not good.
This happens to me sometimes. I take too many electrolytes and I get a little bit sick to my stomach. Can I have a take on this too?
Yeah.
All right. So my take on this is, as someone who actually used to smoke in years and years ago, for several years, and someone who is obviously addicted to nicotine, I actually don't have a problem with these. I have not tried them myself because I am still breastfeeding and I just really don't have a desire for it. But I really feel like a lot of, like, for me personally, that addiction came from like hand to mouth movement. And it wasn't so much the nicotine aspect. Yes, it was. I eventually weaned myself off of it.
We're in a stage where Ryder's getting into everything.
Yeah, sorry, I'm breathing because I'm like trying to make sure I'm like
don't mess with that, buddy.
Staying down. So yeah. Anyways, I don't have a problem with Robert utilizing these, even though
utilizing is such a overrated word.
With Robert having these,
using these,
whatever.
She's using the exact same thing with one less syllable.
Okay, there's Robert using these.
Actually, 2 less syllables.
Oh my goodness, hush. It just doesn't bother me. I think he just hit his head. It doesn't bother me, and I just really don't think that it's that harmful. Like, I don't really feel like there's a whole bunch of negative effects of it. Now, if he were to go smoke a cigarette, I would be like, get the heck out of here. You're not doing that.
Or like vaping or something that's going to have a significant higher dosage. Like, I'm more concerned about me having 500 plus milligrams of caffeine a day than I am about me having 9 milligrams of nicotine.
Yeah. So anyways, that's my take as someone who actually has had an issue with nicotine. I haven't had that. I probably won't have it just because I'm breastfeeding and I just really don't want to introduce that to my system again. But I kind of am curious. I'm like, does that hit the same spot? Because it does similar things as smoking a cigarette. It suppresses your appetite. A lot of people, when they quit smoking, will start picking up food and start eating food. And so they're eating more food because it's that hand to mouth, but also you don't have the appetite suppressant anymore. So there's just several different aspects that I just wanted to say my part in. I don't really have an issue with Robert using this because I just don't. even as someone who is mixed in the waters.
All right, let's dive into some of these. Tanya, love you guys. Love you too. TM, how are you? We are great. How are you doing,
We got a
TM?
what's up over here.
What's up? Awesome. Joe Davis asked, will you increase as calories go lower? Probably not. I think I will cap myself at 4 pouches a day, mostly because these, like, you feel the effect after,
Okay.
not really, no. For about an hour. You don't even feel it for an hour. You feel it for about 45 minutes after you put one in. You just put it in your upper lip. And I will leave the same pouch in for like 2 or 3 hours. This is what they look like here. Little bitty tiny pouches. I've got one in right now. You can't even tell. So I like how discreet they are. I'm not spitting. You don't have to spit or anything like that, which is gross. But yeah, I put one in and then I'll leave it in for like 2 or 3 hours. So it doesn't even have any effect for that long. But I don't. That to me is much better than like chain chewing gum all day long. So I don't see myself doing more than 4 pouches a day tops.
This person said, Theo said, so do you use it before to keep hunger at bay? I'm wondering if they said before bed or,
Yeah, I mean, you
I
can
don't know
do
what
it
it was for. Or
just
what
whenever. It's not like I'm taking one as soon as I get hungry. I mean, I'll just kind of like have my OMAD meal after I train, and then I'll put the first one in at like 10 or 11 a.m. and then, a few more in throughout the course of the day. But it's not like I'm putting one in right before I go to bed or anything. Has the nicotine made prep any easier, any less hunger? A little bit less hunger. I think honestly, just like I have something in my mouth, which is nice. And I've got a flavor of something similar to gum. The other one, where'd the other one go? The other one is unflavored. This one is Cool Mint. The other one's unflavored. They're sweetened with acesulfame potassium, and it's like a cellulose pouch. And then there's nicotine salt in the cellulose pouch. So pretty clean from an ingredient standpoint. RPG is asking what the ingredients are. So it's a cellulose to provide bulk in the pouch, sweet with acesulfame potassium, and just nicotine salt. I think it's like less than 1 calorie per pouch. So pretty negligible from a caloric or ingredient standpoint. I am a chain gum chewer, also an ex-smoker. Also, I've had nootropics with nicotine in them and liked it. Was wondering if the pouches cause any mouth soreness or stomach aches. No, because it is just simply pure nicotine. There's no tobacco, so you're not having to spit. You're not having to risk swallowing something that contains tobacco. So no GI distress, none of that. I would imagine like the first few that I had when we were driving back from Oregon. And that's when I was also increasing my protein quite a bit for the first time. So I had a little bit of GI distress there, but I think it was more so from the super high protein before I started doing OMAD and just driving in a very hot vehicle without AC. So that was not pleasant, but I don't think that was because of the nicotine pouches.
Are you sleepy? Rachel's like laying on the floor.
What are you doing, buddy? So yeah, that's what I've got to say on that. If I have body fat about 22%, do you think going through the building phase at maintenance calories would be an acceptable idea? Depends what your calories are now. If you've been chronically restricting your calories, then yeah, being at a slight surplus or like more of a maintenance for a little bit of time to allow your hormones to reset, your metabolic rate to reset would be advantageous. I don't know any of your other stats. 22% may be a totally fine body fat for you. Holy City Trevor.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a guy.
But I don't know. 22% as a female would be totally fine in a maintenance. I don't know. I mean, if you're a guy, you can probably afford to go a little bit lower, but you don't have to go lower right now. You can afford to build some muscle, ramp your caloric intake back up, your metabolic rate back up, and then transition into a cut. Bad DEXA scan on near zero carb carnivore. Osteocalcin too low, not making bone despite biophosphonate infusions. You recommend any food, K2, K1 sources, so I can try and increase osteocalcin that K2, K1 does. I would recommend weight training to improve bone density first and foremost. Make sure you get enough calories. As far as any food sources, I don't know. Sardines with the bones in them. I think that would be a really good option there. Like canned sardines with the bones present, that would be good. But I don't know. I'll do some research on that. I'll do some research on your question, see if I can get back to you with some better recommendations. But that would be what I'd recommend, shooting from the hip. Copy that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm a guy. All right. We figured, Trevor. Didn't want to assume, but we figured.
You never know. It could be a last name. I don't know.
Yeah. You never know these days. But yeah, I would probably stay at a building phase, slight surplus. You know, when you're in a building phase, you don't need to be at a 2,000 calorie above maintenance surplus. You can be at a 200 to 500 calorie above maintenance, and that's ample nutrition above baseline to build more lean tissue and minimize unnecessary body fat gain. What else we got? K2, K1, leafy vegetables, which safest? So when it comes to leafy vegetables, I don't really eat a ton of leafy vegetables. We've got a garden now, and we've got some zucchini in there. We don't have any leafy vegetables.
Yeah, the thing is like it really depends on yourself as an individual. Like I do not do well with leafy greens. Like in general, eating them it really upsets my stomach. So it really depends on you as an individual. They're what are they really high in?
The spinach and stuff is really high in oxalates.
Oxalates, yes. So a lot of people don't handle those very well. So I would just test it out for yourself and see what ones are going to settle well in your stomach. But I don't know. I really have to look up the K2, K1 thing because I honestly don't know. So I would have to look into it. But I would say that
I like chard. I like turnip greens. Things like mixed greens like that typically are lower in oxalates than spinach and kale and things of that nature. It's like a Swiss chard or something like that. It's going to be lower in oxalates. You can do that and kind of like saute them in like some olive oil, butter, something of that nature, and that would be a pretty good bet.
Yeah, I am kind of interested in this. So I kind of want to look at like foods that are nutrient or that are dense in those because there might be some things that you looked into it, but there might be some things that will come up that you actually haven't thought of, and there can be some interesting ways to get that in. So would love to kind of look into that a little bit more.
Nervous to add any vegetables?
It's probably going to, if you've been straight up carnivore for a while, it's probably going to take your gut a minute to adjust. So just do small amounts at a time. Don't go too crazy, and then like just realize that your stomach may not like it because your gut like microbiome has to adjust and adapt to the new foods that are coming in as well.
Yeah. Bingo. All right. What other questions, concerns, comments we got here?
This one's slow over here. What's going on Instagram?
What's going on Instagram, Raymer? My mom just texted me.
Yeah. She's called me and texted me several times, and I'm like, I can't answer you.
We are at the compound.
She's coming to the Hard to Kill conference with us leaving tomorrow. So she just got down.
Yes. What else we got cooking?
Let me know what suggestions, what you suggest once you read the list. Worried on oxalates and dirty dozen and overall toxicity. Yeah. Also with the dirty dozen, like you can, if you can afford it, I would 100% get organic. If you have a garden, do that. But like definitely focus on getting as clean as possible for sure.
Yeah, and also there is, and I'm not saying this is the case for you, but there is most certainly a case as of late in which people that are hardcore carnivores have been just really bashing vegetables. And I don't eat a lot of vegetables. Like I'm not defending vegetables by saying this, but at the same time, like we don't need to villainize anything. So you may incorporate some vegetables, not have any issues whatsoever, and feel all the better for it. So just increase them, titrate them up slowly. Try different ones. Try including a different vegetable one at a time for a week at a time. That way you can kind of tease out how it's truly impacting you, so you're not changing too many variables at once. Try and avoid vegetables that are going to be non-organic and likely heavily laden with chemicals and fertilizers and things of that nature. But if you're getting them from a good quality source, go to your local farmer market, wash them. You probably don't have any crazy things to worry about, and you may find that you love vegetables. When it comes to consuming them, I do think consuming them raw is probably not the best way to absorb the nutrition that is in them. So I would recommend, sauteing them up with some fat source. The fat is going to help make it taste better, first of all, and then it's also going to break down, like cooking them in general is going to help break down some of that cell wall that all plants are encapsulated in, so you can actually tap in and digest some of those nutrients, and just kind of see how your body feels and responds to it.
And they said, thank you for saying that zealots will make you feel like failure if you add in vegetables. Yeah, there definitely is there are some people in the space that are like way super anti-vegetable, but everybody's their own unique individual, and that might be really optimal for a group of people. But like in your case, if you're actually having some issues, then it's something that you have to work on another way possibly.
Great reminder to saute them. Yeah, for sure. Can you activate autophagy with exercise? Great question. So yes, you can. Autophagy is a stressor on the body. It is going to result in acute damage at the cellular level. It's going to result in inflammation. It's going to result in all of these things that are present in an cell death standpoint. So exercise is going to help kill off the weak cells and then build new, better, more resilient cells. So yes, many of the benefits that you're going to get from fasting from an autophagy standpoint are also going to be present when you train and subject your body to a stimulus that it has to adapt to. All right.
That's it. We should probably call it.
Yeah, I got to rock and roll, jump on this client call. So sorry it was a little bit shorter live today, but last week was quite a bit longer.
Yeah,
it was like a 40-minute live.
What's our topic next week?
Topic next week. We could do CGM. I got a CGM that I put in on Monday, so I'll have some more data next week, so we can talk about CGMs next week. That sound good?
CGMs. That's what we'll talk about next week.
CGMs, continuous glucose monitors. Boom.
Okay.
All right. Much love. We're gonna be at Hard to Kill this weekend. Hopefully, some of y'all will be there. If not, we're gonna miss you. But we will see y'all next week. Ta-ta for now, and toodaloo.
See ya.